Hey guys, how are you? This is Chris Mortimer, onboard Victorian Rose, and reporting to you on something pretty relevant right now, COVID-19 and a potential financial crisis that may come of it. I certainly hope not. I certainly hope you're in a position to make smart investments one way or another, and ideally buy a boat. But I think it's really important that, as pretty much the numbers guy in the industry, I review and analyze what happened during the last financial crisis to see if we can expect the same things again this time around. So I have one of my analysts put together some charts and some tables for me to review with you, to provide some context as to what we can expect to be going on. So let's pull it up here. You got about 10 charts. All right, so the first chart here is the median amount of time it takes a boat to sell in the US and abroad. What you can really see is leading up to the financial crisis, the US indicated by the orange markers, about 8 months. Come the financial crisis, it jumped to 9, and it took until about 2015 to go back the other way. Again, this is relevant for all makes, model, sizes, anything pretty much above 40 feet. So that's analyzing chart one. Chart two. This chart would probably be. Oh, I have to add a little context here. The 2019 data is not as robust as it should be. The data was cut off in about March of last year, about 1 year ago. So ignore anything in 2019 moving forward here. But this chart here, you can see this is the median delta in price by year. And what a median delta is the difference between the list price and the sale price for a particular vessel. What you can see here, even though it probably should be in percentages, I think the chart is a little bit better illustrated using values. What you're saying to yourself is, who cares about $25,000 on a boat that costs $5 million? Yeah, sure, I understand that, but it draws the same conclusion, the same picture. So as you can see, the U.S. again indicated by the orange line, the gray is abroad outside of the U.S. What you're going to see is that ever since 2005, it's really taken a sharp decline, meaning boats are selling way below their listing value at almost double come 2008, and it's almost stayed that way. So what does that tell us? It kind of tells us that the whole deal culture, everyone thinks they're getting a good deal, and it becomes the norm to price boats way above where they're actually going to sell. You could see that in Europe, boats are priced much closer to where they actually sell. Now, again, 2016 moving forward is kind of leveled off, and again, it's more than doubled from its 2010 2011 levels. So you could see that 2009 2010 area, the European market took a huge hit, whereas the U.S. also did, but it didn't really go back to the equilibrium that it saw beforehand. This is sales by year. Okay, this is analyzing pretty much anything over 40 feet and $500,000 for up. Again, ignore the 2019 sales figures where it drops off, but you can see yacht sales across the globe, they're going up. People have more money. People are seeing the value in owning these vessels. And at the end of the day, what I really want you to take notice in this chart, this is sales volume by year. Ignore 2019, the sharp drop off, the sharp decline, because that data isn't whole. So, but I really want to draw your attention to 2007, 2008 sales volume abroad in the U.S. and total took a pretty big nosedive. That means boats were lasting longer on the market and they weren't selling. You could see that it certainly recovered around 2013 and has a little bit of fluctuation since then. The global market, however, so what I want you to take note in this chart, this is the sales volume by year. How much is being sold? You can see around 2007, we almost hit $3 billion in sales worldwide, and then we eclipsed it in 2017. What you are going to notice as well, the USA, again indicated by the orange line, has seen some ups and downs. The financial crisis, 2013, Whereas Europe, the sales volume is lesser, but at the end of the day, it stayed a little bit more steady, and has since surpassed the U.S. sales market since 2017. In this chart here, this is going to show the median time on market, and this kind of just reiterates what we just saw in the chart 2 charts ago. It takes a boat 7 months on average to sell in the US, whereas abroad it's going to take 8 months. Again, this varies by size, by make, by model, by a number of different factors, but this is what the numbers tell us. This chart right here, how does the age of a vessel dictate how long it spends on the market? Now, again, this is total across the entire. So again, this chart piggybacks right off the last one. This chart is about how long it takes a vessel to sell by its age. You're going to see just as the same chart. I'm going to go right back. 8 months total worldwide is how long it typically takes a vessel to sell. You see a drop off by a year or two. What this chart tells us, right? Something 0, 1, 2 years. Those vessels are in higher demand. Okay, they're newer, they have more relevant technology, less needs to be done to them. More people see the value in buying a vessel a couple years old, so they don't have to be caught doing a refit or major engine services or anything like that. But it's pretty relatively static across the board here, with a little bit of fluctuations as they go on. So right here, the median delta, okay, what this chart indicates here is by a vessel size, how much it typically sells at below its listed value. Again, you're going to notice a sharp drop off at the end, and this is for a couple reasons. When the vessel's over 100 feet and up, especially abroad, because what happens with the larger, more expensive boats is a lot of times the sales prices aren't recorded because a non-disclosure agreement is signed. So it always requires a little bit of extra details to find out this information. But at the end of the day, this is why those numbers drop off so significantly. But what you could see is in the USA, you continue to creep up. The larger you go in size, the more you can expect to get a discount on when buying any particular yacht. This is almost the mirror chart. How long a vessel typically stays on the market by its size. And again, the median duration abroad is continuing to go up. Vessels are lasting longer on the market as opposed to shorter, as they are here in the USA. Obviously, it makes sense that a vessel 40 to 49 feet, 50 to 59 feet is going to spend less time on the market because there's more people that could afford them and buy them. It's just like a pyramid. There's less buyers at the top of the pyramid, more buyers at the bottom of the pyramid. So what you're going to notice in this chart here is the median duration by a category of price. And the same thing as the last chart. The more expensive the vessel is, the more likely it is to have an NDA signed on the purchase price to keep values artificially high. But there's ways to get this information, but this is why the data is not that reliable on that end. However, if we look earlier in the data chart, vessels $500,000, under $1 million, under $2.5 million, this is a little bit more reliable. But you'll see that both abroad and in the USA, you're going to see vessels on the market about 8 months to 9 months the further up you get in price, the higher up you get in price, I should say. So what does this chart tell us? This is where you should be starting your negotiation. If the median price. So again, this chart goes back to the delta, the difference between the list price and the actual sale price. And what you see here in the USA, a boat $500,000 or less, you could expect to be buying it for about 10%. Whereas abroad, those prices that are a little bit more attractive, sure, they don't have shipping, sure, there's more inventory, supply, whatever, you're going to have a lower figure. But again, as you go up in price, it's going to start going down. So, and for the last chart that we analyzed here, I really want you to look at USA, which in this one it got switched. The USA is the blue line up top. But again, we're back to delta here. This is the difference between the list price and the sale price of a particular vessel. 10% is what you could expect to get off your price if your boat is listed under $500,000. And the higher up it goes in price, the less you can expect. And that's where the calculations really, really start to come into play to get you the precision calculations that you need. What you can see here is abroad, even though duration is higher abroad, you are seeing that the actual sale price is going to be a little bit lower. Now, this has to do with the fact that you don't have shipping included. There's a little bit more inventory. Supply is easier. Your taxes might be less. So there's a number of factors to consider when buying any type of boat. But this, again, is what the numbers tell us. So anyways, a little bit of economics, a little bit of history, a little bit of analyzing the markets. I think it's important for us to realize where everything's going to go, to realize what's happened through the financial crisis and throughout history, and to see the trends. This is, again, something that people don't really want to voluntarily disclose to buyers because, again, everyone appreciates a good salesman. You want someone to sell you, but when you have someone like me and my team, someone to protect your interests as a buyer, information is power, and that's the only way to look at it. So, again, as I'm starting to say in a lot of my videos, everyone can tell you they're a good guy in this industry. A lot of people are. There's a lot of great people. There's a lot of people that can be very helpful in your search. I encourage you to get multiple opinions. Talk to me. Talk to another broker. Talk to captains. Get a number of perspectives and opinions. But what I don't want you to do is fully put your trust in someone the first time around and you end up getting screwed. For someone to be good and effective, they have to consistently do it over and over and over again. So I can say I'm a good guy until I'm blue in the face, but until I demonstrate it, until I prove it, and I do it again for you and the next person behind you, my word is really just an empty promise. In the States here, right, it's innocent until proven guilty. You have to be a little bit more cautious when buying a yacht because there's so many moving pieces and there's a lot that needs to be done. And I have a friend, he says, when you find someone good in this industry, you hold on to them with dear life because it really makes the difference between you having a really enjoyable ownership experience and not. So again, sorry I'm a little bit more casual here today on board this beautiful boat doing some work. So again, thank you guys for all your continued support on the channel. Be sure to subscribe on the button right here below. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Any way I can help, please let me know. Happy yachting, my friend.